homicides, threatening federal agents, opening fire on the NYPD, gun trafficking, drive-by shootings, assault, and rape. The Bloods were founded in Los Angeles, California, and known for their rivalry with the Crips. Dating back to the 1960s, the Bloods were originally formed to protect themselves from the Crips. They are primarily African American, but also engage with Latinos and some Asian Americans. Bloods have subsets with their own leader and generally operate individually. Typically, the older and managing leaders have extensive criminal backgrounds and assert themselves through their reputations for being ruthless. To the extent women belong to the gang, they are usually associate members who are used by the men for carrying weapons, holding drugs, and they are expected to put out and prostitute. Bloods recruit heavily among school-age youth in predominantly poor African American communities by offering disadvantaged youth a better life, a sense of belonging, and protection.
You know what I'm saying? You just date them and you beep out and you do certain things.
Don't get it twisted, come to Murder Hill thinking niggas is chilling.
But then it just flipped and it turned around.
Niggas is snitching, that's why we chilling.
And the females wanted to do the gang banging. And doing a slice and let me hold the gap.
I mean, we still get it popping.
Matter of fact, let me be a blood. I want to be it because you it.
My homie Lissa is not right there in the fence. Hold your head, homie. My homie Tank. Bush, you already know. My homie Bush.
Blood stands for Better Look Out or Die. The Bloods' history of being outnumbered and the underdog motivated them to rise to power through ruthless brutality. The Bloods are affiliated with the People Nation, a large coalition of affiliates that operate within the prison systems. Members are distinguished through their colors, hand symbols, and graffiti. However, now with modern technology, secret emoji language, digital imagery, and cyber banging have the group well connected and efficient. The modern-day Bloods are political, with connections to the courthouses and lawyers.
What up? Who that, Hood's DVD? Y'all niggas ready to see the Hood for real? Y'all ready to see what it's all about? Bronx, baby? Niggas better get on this camera and rep the Hood, homie. About to take you to the projects, my nigga. Show you the real Hood.
About it, about that one. I know what it is. That's his thing. Yo, these my two little sisters. So we walking up. I puts it out. Whoever gets it, gets it. I puts it out.
Talking there, homie. Let me see something.
Who said that?
Always the Empire.
5, I got love for you, but watch your mouth.
Man, would you knock it off, please? Let me see
5,
something.
who said that?
Let's put in that work.
5, I'm asking you. Relax, 5, okay.
Let's go.
Don't do that. Let's go.
Give me an example about how y'all deal with shit that happen in the hood. You know, like two niggas in the same hood be beefing and shit, and this shit be out of hand. How y'all keep?
Nah, we'll take it to the back. They gonna fight or whatever. Okay.
Let's go.
Don't do that. Let's go.
They gonna fight or whatever, but they gonna be cool later.
But I okayed on your ass. Chill out.
Our arguments is, I'm saying, brother arguments. The argument you have with your brother and sister, you know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna kill your brother and sister. You argue, you know what I'm saying?
Fine, word to my mother. It gets set down right there. You feel me?
Don't 5, but why are you disrespecting me in front of 5?
I'm gonna tell you one.
Members refer to each other as blood niggers and their daily activity as poppin'. The New York blood gangs are one of the largest gangs on the East Coast. Members are popping up from as far north as Maine and as far south as Houston, and they don't live by the old gang banger rules. You got Bloods killing Bloods, Crips killing Crips, and it ain't nothing because by the time you are 10 years old, you have seen 10 dead bodies. It's normal. It's a real lifestyle. Ain't no play shit. A lot of them don't know how to even articulate well enough to go through job hunting, much less work. Here's another clip on what life is like in the hood.
Another hoods. This is my hood. Thank you for coming to my hood. Now we exiting my hood. Watch it, G. Yeah?
Hey, I'm on a flick hard body, so. You know what I'm saying?
That was for my blood right there.
All the bitches, though, holla at me. My baby mom is around, though. Like, she gonna see this so much. I need her to holla at me, man. We just wanna get money, that's it. That's all.
Now you notice me. Now you know who I am. Different, right? You know me. Yeah.
East side up all the time, man. Up and ready.
Keep rolling, bro.
Bring it, welcome. This is hoods and your hoods. They don't come. Listen, I know a few niggas. I know a lot of rap niggas. I know a lot of niggas. They don't come to your hood like this. This is in your hood, nigga. I'm in your fucking hood, nigga. It can happen. You dig? I get. Oh man.
The gang youth regularly turn to drugs and alcohol simply to cope with their upbringing and daily life of suffering, neglect, and violence on New York's Murder Hill, where the word is that the gangs are of a much stronger mindset and more hardcore than the West Coast and more reflective of the East Coast environment. They have a code for banging. They have their language. The shake goes the same from the East to the West Coast, and if you are a fraud, they are going to get you. Money will get you a pass, but only for a minute, because they don't want you in their hood anyway. East side up, all the time and ready.
Now we going to the
It goes down that.
I mean, it goes down here, so go. That's this right here, man. That's this right here. This will go down right here. It's the range right here, man. It's the range right here. Get fresh, all that. I mean, get your new jump off. Come right here. And it's right out. And it's right out. I mean, that's exactly where it goes down.
You see that? Let that hit you, man. Let that hit you. It's a wrap for you, money. I'm telling you, let the
Parts is missing.
Inside them bullets, it's not playing. We don't play over here. We just big. We're not showing all that on camera, though. You see that right there? That shit will blow your stomach
crazy.
out.
That's crazy. Size of your heart.
You kidding me? You see the holes on the wall?
Damn it, man.
Yes, sir. Holes in the wall?
Yes, sir.
It's
a problem.
For real.
You had one of those.
Niggas better bump your fucking heads.
It's unfortunate, man. I'm just trying to show the kids, like, don't put yourself in a position like that, man.
Rest in peace to my homie right
You already know. Rest in peace to the good girl homie right here.
It's
the good girl homie right here.
His
Birthday too, man.
Death. I feel like if you in a gang and somebody dies, it's more like damn, I need to step my game up because it might be my turn next.
It's a double-edged sword, man. These kids got to understand, man. It's an old trap. If you don't pay attention, it's a fucking trap, dog.
OG stands for Original Gangster. Omar Portee, aka OG Mac, is a gangland visionary who was a Blood in Los Angeles. He sought to expand the brand from the West Coast to the East, where he was raised. Omar was involved in narcotics trafficking, robbery, murder, and while in prison at Rikers, he succeeded in uniting numerous smaller African American gangs under one entity, the United Blood Nation. July 1993. OG Mac united his people in a response to the Latin King gang's domination at Rikers Island Prison. He was an incarcerated career criminal who was charismatic. He saw his people as victimized in the prison system in relation to the control of the Latin gangs. He planted a flag and established political territory at Rikers and wrote a Bible of 31 rules. OG Mac and his UBN gained control of the phones by tying colors on the phones. If the phones were not paid for or used without permission, OG Mac responded by slashing other prisoners in the face with precision, calling it the Buck 50, when it took 150 stitches from the lip to the ear. The Buck 50 became the calling card for the UBN, and the message was that if you cross us, we are going to scar you for the rest of your life. OG and his men of only a few hundred inmates took control of over 10,000 Riker prisoners, thereby establishing themselves as no longer the prey but the predator. The organization in New York grew to approximately 15,000, having spilled out into the general population. Members are known as dogs, D-A-W-G-S. As members were released from prison, they recruited and their numbers grew into a Red Army with territories, ranks, crews, and generals. OG Mac was released in 1999. He expanded and returned to the Bronx. Gang members were initiated into the Bronx group by spilling innocent civilian blood, and the only way out of the OBN is death. The gang spread from the Bronx into the 5 boroughs of New York. OG Mac's girlfriend, Paulette MacArthur, aka Big Mama, ran the female Bloodettes, who were sexed, meaning they were gang raped, into the group, and ran the credit card and other identity theft and financial crimes. They bred and made blood drops. Crime spread all up and down the East Coast through coordinated violence for a profit, and nothing was done without OG Mac's knowledge or blessing. The New York police investigated the entire organization over a 2-year period of time, landing an informant within the group. The intent was to charge the leaders under the federal racketeering statute, the RICO Act, the Racketeer, Influenced, and Corrupt Organization Act. The goal was to arrest the top members at the time and let the arrests then trickle downward. Hundreds of police officers were involved in the takedown, which took place during a birthday party. OG and 14 gang members were indicted on 31 counts in 2001 and sent back to Rikers in isolation. The gang was taken off the streets, other members pled out, and then 911 happened and everything grinded to a screeching halt. The government picked the case back up in the spring of 2002 and the investigation continued. The trial resulted in a 50-year sentence for conspiracy to commit murder, distribute crack cocaine, weapons charges, and racketeering. The original gangster involved in the current scuffle with the Muslim police is Big Infinite. According to the Christian Action Network, who have provided exclusives on these reports, then picked up by the Clarion Project, a meeting took place between Ali Karim of the Muslim police and Big Infinite. Karim agreed to keep the cars out of the Gate, Avenue, and Marcus Boulevard territories, and it was as simple as that for now. Christian Action Network released this short documentary on November 11th, 2019 on the 7 things to know about the Muslim community patrol cars in New York. The New York Muslim Police originally stated to the public that its main function was to be a watchdog group that would act as a liaison between the Muslim community and the New York PD. It wasn't long, though, when they now described themselves as a much-needed defense and security force for the Muslim community and its mosques. Just like the organized gangsters of the Bloods, nothing happens in New York without the knowledge of America's Imam Siraj Wahhaj, who is known for his terrorist history and terrorist ties. Siraj is responsible for the command and the deployment of the Muslim police in New York. Siraj Wahhaj has made no bones about the Sharia enforcement responsibilities of the Muslim police. Conflict between the Bloods and the Muslim patrol erupted on December 10th after a Muslim patrol officer patrolling around the Taqwa Mosque claimed he heard a boy, estimated to be about 16, say something disrespectful to a Muslim woman. He grabbed the teen and threw him against the fence at the mosque and held him tightly about the neck while lecturing him and then let him go. The boy subsequently described the incident to his father, a senior member of the Bloods chapter, Big Infinite, an original gangster. A short time later, 7 Blood members, at least one of whom was brandishing a weapon, arrived at the mosque to confront the Muslim patrol member who called for backup. Additional Muslim patrol members arrived in their patrol cars, and loud threats were exchanged between the two factions. The New York police showed up and broke it up. One of the members of the Bloods, however, turned towards the Taqwa Mosque and told the Muslim patrol, "This is not over, it has just begun." In response to the event, the original gangster decided to declare open season on the Taqwa Mosque, calling it dog food. In order to avoid an all-out war, the Muslim patrol leader tried to manage a high-risk meeting with the original gangster. In the meantime, the Bloods did retaliate by beating up a Muslim man outside the mosque on December 14th. Initially, the demand of the Bloods was that the Muslim police turn over the patrolman who roughed up the teenager, or at least give them his home address. This was unacceptable to Ali Karim, who countered that the Muslim police had already fired the offending patrolman. In the future, they would be keeping the patrol cars away from the territory at Gates Avenue and Marcus Boulevard. The counteroffer to keep the patrol cars out of the area fell apart, and the decision was ultimately made by Siraj Wahhaj to turn over the fired member and provide the Bloods with his home address. The Muslim Police Patrol is a Sharia police patrol with plans to expand to 30 cars.